محمد وآل محمد صلي بسم الله محمد وآل أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربي أنتقنا بالهدى وألهمنا التقوى السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. I begin in the name of Allah, the most kind, the most merciful. It's due to that kindness and mercy that we have these opportunities where we gather to get closer to Him, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. As we had announced last month that inshallah on this interactive session, what we're going to do is practically demonstrate the rules of Salaat-ul-Jamaat. And what that practical demonstration means is that I'm going to have one of you be the Imam and some of you be the Ma'moon, and we will actually learn how to join, what happens if it breaks and things like that. So it's going to be interactive, and then in those scenarios we will leave the floor open if there are any questions or any things that you want to clear up. Now we're short of time, the timing is a little bit crunched today, so we're going to start it as soon as possible. The partition is set. It'll be really important for the ladies to come out for this session as well, because the camera might catch it, but it might not. So as the partition is set, and I asked the guys to move behind the partition, if you're already there, just move a little bit back. And so we're going to wait just for a second for the ladies to come. I believe you will find access through the Dhari room. In the meantime, whoever I'm going to call up, I'm going to ask for volunteers, but please keep in mind that you're going to be on YouTube after today. So you need to be comfortable with that so that you are online. We have Dr. Kimji here today, alhamdulillah. So Dr. Kimji is going to be our Imam. Yeah. So Dr. Kimji, I call you up, please. So I think we just need one lady who has courage to come through, and the rest will trickle in. Yeah. Bismillah. Can you, if we can have you be the Imam on this position here. Yeah. So you'll miss the whole program because your back will be to us. But inshallah you'll be okay. Yeah. So right now you can face us. So again, we are patiently waiting for the sisters to come. Thank you. Yeah. So we just need to sit in a way where you can see what's happening, inshallah. Okay? All right. So in Jamaat Salah, what are the minimum? So we have another Imam who could have been the Imam, just walk in too, you know? So in Jamaat Salah, what are the minimum number of people do we need to have Jamaat Salah? 2, right? In Jummah Salah, how many people do we need for Jummah Salah? Good. Okay, so that's a distinction. A lot of people get that confused. And so what they think is that for me to have Jamaat, I need 5 people. You don't, you need 2. And at home, it can be you and your wife can do Jamaat. And I think that adds a lot of ruhani in your house. Yeah, a lot of spirituality in your house to have Jamaat Salah with you and your wife. So you can come up to the partition. No one will see you, inshallah. So here we have, let's say you walk into a mosque, for example, and you see someone praying. Now I have to say, like, our Sunni brothers do this very well, right? They see one person praying, they're not going to go and say their own salah, they're going to go and join Jamaat, right? We need to do a better job of that. When we see someone praying and they meet the external criterias of Imam, okay? Whatever they may be. Okay, but they meet those criteria, go and join Jamaat, get the thawab of Jamaat. But let's say we're starting with 2 people, okay? So I need a male volunteer. Who's going to do it? Zahid, come up. Yeah? So how is Zahid going to join Jamaat Salah here? What is he going to do? Yeah? To the right of the Imam, not back of the Imam. Sayyid Sistani is very clear on this ruling. He says that if there's only 2 people who are praying, so that's the wrong way of praying, right? You need to stand on the right of him. Yeah? So Dr. Kimji, can you stand please? Okay? You're capturing all this? I'm making the cameraman's job hard today. He will stand, Zahid, stand next to him. He will stand directly to the right of him. Okay? He's not going to stand behind him. He's not going to do anything. He's going to stand directly to the right of him. And he's going to join and pray Jamaat Salah. Now we're assuming, not behind him, just stand right next to him. Yeah, right next to him. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's good. We think that he needs to be a little behind because we want to be in that role of Imam and Ma'mun. But here Sayyid says to the right of him. We will just go by the wordings of what Sayyid Sistani says, to the right of him. Okay? Now let's say they are praying. Now we have a third person come and join. Arif, will you do us the favor? You mind being on YouTube? Yeah? Come on, Arif. We'll make you a star today. Yeah? Alright. A third person comes and wants to join. How is he going to join Jamaat Salah here? Yeah, he's going to, so come up, you're going to tap the follower, the ma'mun, on the shoulder. Now ma'mun, you don't turn around, yeah? You're praying. When you get this tap, you know that there is someone else who wants to join to be in Jamaat Salah. So what he has to do now is he will bend down, pick up his turba, yeah? Pick up your turba. And as you are picking up your turba, you need to make sure that you're not reciting anything. That movement, sometimes we get scared in Jamaat Salah, or we get scared in Salah. We're not allowed to move, we're robots. There is no problem here if, for example, I bend down, pick up my turba, and take a step back, and I can just hold my turba at that time, and then continue the recitation of my dhikr. Okay? The same rule applies for like cell phones. We have this problem all the time. Ideally, we want your cell phones off. I know sometimes we forget. If your cell phone is on the ground and you are praying Jamaat and your cell phone's going off, man, bend down, pick it up, turn it off, and continue your Jamaat Salah. Don't let it just ring and disturb everybody. Because that movement right there is not a ruku. You have no intention of doing ruku. You just have an intention of doing something. For example, if you have an insect or a bug that could be harmful to you, you're not just going to be like, I'm a mujahid, I'm praying, nothing's going to happen to me. No, you have to move it out of the way. There's nothing wrong with that type of movement. So what he's going to do is, he's going to grab his turba. Yeah, he grabbed his turba, take a step back. Now you can't turn around away from Qibla, right? So you need to just take a step back, and ideally, of course, he should be behind the Imam so that there is no like cross traffic. Does that make sense or no? And then he continues. The only place here that I want us to be careful about is that, let's say Dr. Saab go into ruku. Yeah? He's gone into ruku. You should have gone into ruku, but you saw somebody come behind you. You can't go from front straight to ruku, because ruku needs a qiyam before that, right? Qiyam muttasil bir ruku is wajib. What that means is that anytime you take a ruku, you have to have qiyam first. So he would take a step back. Thank you, Dr. Saab. He would take a step back, make sure he's in qiyam, and then he would go into ruku. Now you have the general formation of how a Jamaat Salah would look. Alright? So this is then how anybody else can join after that. Okay, you may have a seat, Dr. Saab. I'm going to ask Zahid. No, not there. You're forever Imam. Yeah, you're forever Imam. Okay, now let's say, now if on this example is very clear. So if we have 3, 4, 5 people, they will just line up. And the ideal scenario is you balance the line. Okay, so you have one person on the right, the next person would fill the left, and then you would balance it. Don't make the line more imbalanced by having everybody on one side. Another important rule that I see oftentimes not done is that when the first line is empty, don't start a new line. Join the first line. It's very important, okay? The thawab of the first line, I think we forget how valuable the thawab of a first line is, okay? Now, Sayyid says that the most God-wary of people, pious individuals should occupy the first line. And inshallah, none of us view ourselves as not being pious or not being God-conscious. So we can take that first line. Now naturally, if you see people who are more deserving, and I don't know, we are the best judges of that, that's fine. But if things are established, and you see openings, go and fill those openings, please. Okay? Now if there is a... Let's see how we can do this. All right, I'm going to ask one of you to be a lady. Is that okay? Is that okay? Any volunteers? No? Is there any non-baligh girls here? Any non-baligh girls who want to come up? No? No? Okay, no. So now let's say the scenario is you're at home, or let's say it's, for example, now I have a seat here. Because I'm going to ask you to be a girl for a second, yeah? If it's one man and one woman, okay, what is the rule about Salaat-ul-Jamaat? Now, ideally, for example, the Sayyid says that in this position, the turba should be at the knee of the man. Okay, so put your turba aside. How would you have your turba at his knee? Right, and you sit down. So there would be a gap like that. Now, I spoke to Maulana about this, and we both are in agreement to this. That, for example, if it's you and your wife, no, you're not at his knee. You can go up a little higher. At his knee, meaning, yeah, right there. Okay? So when he's in sajda, you're at the knee. Does everybody understand that? This here, I would highly recommend this only to be done with immediate family. So for example, you and your wife, right? Not a random man and a random woman. This would be, I think, uncomfortable in that particular scenario, okay? So if it's you and your wife, this is an ideal way of praying Salaat-ul-Jamaat. Now this is not the only way. Come behind. A husband and wife can also pray like this, front and back. There's no problem whatsoever, okay? Huh? Yeah, right behind. Yeah, always right behind. If you're behind, then you need to be behind the imam. Okay? So if it's a husband and wife, you can pray at the knee or you can pray behind. But if it's, for example, just a random mu'min and a random mu'mina, this is how it always should be. We should always try to keep this particular format. Now, let's look at different scenarios. You have husband, wife, son, daughter. Okay, so how would you have husband, wife, son, daughter pray Salaat-ul-Jamaat? Someone from the sister side. Yes.
The son would be on the right of the imam.
Very good. Son would be on the right of the imam.
The daughter would be on the right of
Yeah, and the wife and daughter would be behind them. Okay, so that is a 2-2 format. Okay, you have husband, 3 sons, and a wife. How would that be? 1-3-1. Does that make sense? Yes. Yeah, you want to show it? Okay, so we need, can Malbas come up? Hamza come up? Okay. Malbas, you're going to be the daughter. Hamza, you're going to be the son. Can't pick on him, that's why. All right. Hamza, where are you supposed to stand if you're the son of the imam and you have your mom and your daughter and your sister there? On the right of who? Good. So go on the right of the imam. Yeah, perfect. And he's the wife, right? He's the daughter. Where would you stand? No, other side. Yeah? Actually, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, you're good there. Okay? So this is a 2-2 format. Okay? Now you have 1-3-1. Hamza, come back. So these are the 3 sons. This is how they would stand. And then the wife, and if there are any daughters, would stand here on the 3rd line. Yeah. Now this balancing is a recommendation. It is not wajib. Right? But yes, always try and remember to balance the line. Yes. That works too. Yeah? Yeah. So you're right. Good point. So let's say when we said the 2-2 rule, if there's a husband, wife, daughter, son, it can also be programmed like this. So you guys stand behind. And it can be programmed like this, 1-1-2. This is fine as well. Okay? So in this instant, when there is one man, Sayyid says you can either stand to the right or you can form a new line and then you have 2 after that. Make sense? Does that make sense? Any questions so far? Yes. Have a seat. What do you mean? No. So even if, for example, let's say this is just a random mu'min and a random mu'mina, this distance that is here is sufficient. All right? It's sufficient. Any other questions? Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. If the sons are not baligh, that's a very good question, right? If the sons are not baligh, but if the sons are mumayyiz, There's a difference, right? So a mumayyiz person, a boy or a girl, is somebody who hasn't reached the age of bulugh, but they are able to distinguish between right and wrong. So for example, they know lying is bad, they know cheating is bad, they know prayers are good, and when they pray salah, they have at least concentration in the sense that they're not looking around, they're not jumping around, they're praying in the shakl or the form of salah, then that mumayyiz child fills that gap. But if the child is not baligh and is not mumayyiz, then let's say you have a husband, wife, and 3 non-baligh and non-mumayyiz kids, then those kids don't matter where they are. You pray just as if you two are the only ones praying Jamaat, and then they can fill in. It's a very good question, right? This is why we needed everybody's interaction to help fill the gaps. Okay? Yes? Okay, 2 men. You can. I think you can. Yeah, I think you can. But Sayyid recommends that they stand side by side. Right? So we'll go with that recommendation of side by side. Yes?
What if two non-mahrams are not allowed in one room? So if the imam is in the front and the mu'min is in the back,
Right.
but there are two alone in the room, that's not allowed.
It's not that it's not allowed. It's better that that scenario doesn't happen. But we're talking about that scenario wouldn't happen in a random place except for example, a mosque, for example, or like an outdoor place maybe. But so I think in that particular instance, that in the issue of namaz, that the mahram and non-mahram being together is not a problem there. Yeah. Now there's a point here that I want us to pay attention to. That let's say there is a man and there is a woman who is praying, right? And let's say I come and lead salah at the after-hour prayers mosque, which is, we have it on the weekends, right? And it just so happens that there is me and there is a woman there, for example. What I would tell that lady to do, because the maximum distance that can exist between rows, so between the turba and the person in front of me, the maximum distance is how much? Does anybody know? 1 step, but this is 1 stride. So it's about a meter, okay? Which is about 3 feet and 2 inches. We came prepared today, ladies and gentlemen, yeah? So, this much, okay? This much is the maximum gap is allowed between, Dr. Saab, this much, yeah? Between the rows. Right? So we're talking about in this particular musalla, can you see? That is the maximum distance. Right? Now, we'll come to this in a second, but this is good because this distance covers the whole width of a musalla. And so, for example, if there is a break in salah, somebody leaves in salah, and there's a person standing here and there's a person standing here, the jama'ah is still maintained because the maximum of a meter gap is less than that. So my point here is that if it was me and I was leading salah and there was a lady, what I would ask her to do is I would ask her to be about that far behind me. Okay? Now for what purpose? Because if let's say a man walks in or 2 men walk in, it will be easier for her to take a small step back, allowing them room to pray versus her taking a gigantic step back and having room to pray. Does that make sense or no? And even on the issue of mahramiyat, it might be more comfortable if there is a slightly larger gap. Now, we can't have a musalla gap. So for example, let's say we're praying in here and the imam is here and we say just leave a musalla gap because the maximum Sayyid says is 1 step, which is about a meter. Okay, so a stride step. So they would stand somewhere here. And then if a man comes and he says, for example, Ya Allah or something, now if it's just 1 man, what can he do at that time? Very good. He will just go and stand to the right of the imam. But let's say 2, 3 men walk in. And even if it's 1, it's better because then 2 could walk in, 3 could walk in, and now you have to do major shuffling at that point, right? So she would just take a step back. Now he will have enough room to pray his salah, no problem. Make sense? Any questions? No? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so let's say The maximum, can you see on the camera here? Can they see that or no? No? So the maximum step, so let's say the maximum difference that is allowed from first line to the lines between lines is this much. So what the lady would do is she would keep her turba there, and then she would stand there. Now when a man walks in, he might be cramped here to fit in this small space, so she would just take a small step back and he would have a full line to pray in. Does that make sense? Okay? All right. We're running out of time, ladies and gentlemen. So we talked about if 2 people comes, then someone comes. If more than 2 people come, if 1 man, 1 woman, if 2 men and 1 man. Any questions on the arrangement of salah? Right? The rest, yes. No, if there's more than 2 men, they should always stand behind. Okay? Good question. Anybody else? All right. Now, when to join and its implications on different rak'ahs. We should know this, but we might as well demonstrate this, right? Okay, so Arif, can you come and stand here, please? And now we're having, or stand on that side, on the right-hand side. If it's only 2, they should always first be right and then left, right, left. But again, these are not wajib things. We're talking about mustahab things. All right, Arif, have a seat. Have a seat. These guys are praying Jamaat namaz, okay? And someone walks in. Whether you are a man walking in or a woman walking in. All right? Mehdi, come up, please. Mehdi, you mind? No, you don't mind being on YouTube, Mehdi? All right. So, Dr. Saab, please be in Qiyam. Wait. Don't be such a rush, Mehdi. Yeah? They're in Qiyam. Mehdi, can you join them in Qiyam or not? While they're standing. Can he join them while they're standing? Yes. Can he join them? Can you go into Ruku? Can he join them while they're in ruku? Yes. Go into tashahhud position, please. Can he join them while they're in tashahhud? No. The only time he can join when they're in tashahhud is if he knows this is their last rakat. If he knows this is their last rakat, then he would say his niyyah, he would do his takbir and sit down. And then when they start the salam, he would stand up and recite normal salah and he gets the thawab of jama'ah. But that's an exception rule. In a normal circumstance, we can only join Jamaat Salah when the Imam was in Qiyam, meaning he's reciting his 2 surahs or Tasbihatul Arba in the 3rd and 4th rakat, or when they're in the state of Ruku. Does that make sense? This is the only time you can join. Now, what I would caution at this point is that if you come in and the Imam is in his 3rd rakat or 4th rakat, and you know he's doing his Tasbihatul Arba, then the precaution is that you wait until the Imam finishes the Tasbihatul Arba and join the Imam in Ruku. Why? So you have a chance to finish your surah, because if the Tasbihatul Arba is shorter to begin with, if you're joining halfway, you're not going to finish Surah Al-Hamd. Right? And so you need to at least let him go into ruku and then you join the imam in ruku. Make sense? Alright. So please stand up. They're in kunut. Okay? Mehdi walks in. Can Mehdi... Okay, sorry. Don't put your hands down. You're in 2nd rakat. Mehdi comes and Mehdi does his takbir. Okay? Now they go into kunut. Okay? What should Mehdi do? This is his 1st rakat. They're in kunut. What should he do? Go into kunut, Mehdi. Right? Even though kunut is not necessary for him in the 2nd rakat, he's still allowed to raise his hands and recite some dua. Okay? With the niyyah of qurbatan ilallah. They go into ruku, they do all of that. Now they're in tashahhud. Okay? Does Mehdi have tashahhud in the 1st rakat? No. Mehdi, what should Mehdi do at this time? Squat. Yeah? Is that called squatting? Yeah, this. This is what Mehdi should do. They're reciting tashahhud at this time. Mehdi is sitting like this. Mehdi is allowed at this time. Huh? Oh, can you turn a little sideways? Oh, Mehdi, you turn a little sideways so that they can see. Yeah. Okay, this is what Mehdi should be doing. Okay? He is allowed to recite tashahhud with the niyat of just qurbatan ilallah, not with the niyat of tashahhud, or he can just listen to the tashahhud at that time. Okay? And then they would stand, they would be, okay, now they have risen from their third rakat. Please rise. So they're in their fourth rakat. If they're in their third rakat, sorry, I'm confusing. They're standing for their third rakat. Mehdi, you still be down. Because Mehdi has to do something in the second rakat. What? Tashahhud. So Mehdi, while they stand for the third rakat, you still have to sit, do his tashahhud, because for him it's rakat number 2. Right? So the tashahhud doesn't get off because they're not doing tashahhud. He still has to join, finish tashahhud, stand up. Huh? I skipped a rakat. I was expecting you to follow me, Yeah? So stand up. And they're in their third rakat. Now, if they were already in their third rakat, no, they're in the third. They're in the third. He was in his second. He had to catch up. Yeah, correct. Now I'm confused. Yeah. So now they're in their fourth. We can edit this on YouTube somehow. They're in their fourth rakat. Now Mehdi is in his third rakat. Because they were already reciting Tasbihatul Arba, they're probably almost done with Tasbihatul Arba. How many times can Mehdi can't recite 3 times? What is he allowed to do? Very good. He would just recite Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. And if they're going to ruku, he goes into ruku. So they were allowed to do Tasbihatul Arba 1 time instead of 3 times. Now, the only last part that needs to be remembered. So now they're, please, in tashahhud again. Mehdi, you're in tashahhud again. This is their fourth rakat. They are finishing their salah. Mehdi, this is your third rakat. What should you be doing right now? Squatting. As soon as they begin to recite their salam, Mehdi can get up and he can now continue his salah and finish. Make sense? Alright? Now, this waiting is not necessary. So you can, for example, when he starts tashahhud, the imam starts tashahhud, he's technically allowed to just get up and continue now. But it is better that he wait. Sayyid says it's better to wait until the imam says his salam, then you stand up and then you continue. Yes? I asked this question today because that was confusing me. And the answer I got from someone I trust very much, who's way more knowledgeable, is as soon as the imam says, As-salamu alayka, that's the salam. And then you can get up. So you don't have to wait till the imam finishes the 3 salams. Alright? This is what is going on. We have 4 minutes? Alright. Yes. Yeah, no problem.
But you see, when he stands up for second rakat, the problem that I find that if mine is second and the imam is on the third,
Yeah.
there is not enough time to do so because sometimes it is so fast.
Yeah. So the maximum, you have to do, so the question was that it's the follower's second, the imam's third, right? You have to try to finish alhamd. You don't need both. Alhamd is the minimum requirement, okay? And even if you can't finish alhamd, then you're allowed to even break alhamd and go into ruku, right? But try to at least finish alhamd. You don't have to go into ruku right when the imam goes into ruku. You can join him 2 seconds later so you can finish. But then you would skip kunut. You don't need to do kunut and you would just go into ruku, okay? Now, how much time do I have really? 5 minutes. Oh, so much time. Yeah? Okay. So we've talked about when to join and its implications on different rakat. Is that kind of understood or no? Yeah, I'm sorry I messed up the rakat things, but I think we generally understood. Seeing it makes a difference, I believe. Okay? Now let's say if there is a break in someone's salah, right? So here, I need 2 more people to come up. Malbas and, come up. Okay? Malbas, you go there. You come here. Now let's say Zahid is in the middle. Have a seat. Okay, Zahid's in the middle. Arif, who's next to him, is in the first line. But Arif happens to be a musafir. And we're praying a 4 rakat namaz now. Okay? Guys, everybody stand up except for Arif. You guys are in your 3rd rakat. Arif is reciting tashahhud and salam right now. He's reciting salam, isn't he? If a musafir is in the first line, it's the musafir's job to make sure that he stands up and joins and restarts the salah. If he stands up And even though he may join in ruku because he knows that he can't join and recite Alhamd in time, right? He may join in ruku, the connection here is still there because he decided to stand and continue. So even though he may be 5 seconds late in joining, the connection here does not break. Now if he, for example, sits and he says, I've prayed enough to Allah, alhamdulillah, I'm not going to stand and pray anymore. At this point, Arif becomes a barrier. Yeah, he becomes a ha'il, right? And at that point, everybody who's on the right of him, their Jamaat is broken. Okay, their Jamaat is broken. Now if he's in the second line, third line, it doesn't matter because you can join from anywhere. Okay, you get connections from anywhere. But at that point, his salah is, everybody else is broken. Now what Arif could do instead is he could get up and just walk away. Yeah? So you just get up and just walk away. He says, I've prayed enough, alhamdulillah. Now remember, because a 1 meter gap is allowed, then the rest of the people still have connection. So the moment he sits and decides not to continue, he's a barrier. But the moment he gets up and leaves, he's no longer a barrier and that connection can still continue. They don't need to shuffle over. If they want to, they can, but I think that adds confusion. Right? They don't need to shuffle over and move around. The Jamaat is fine. It will continue and everything will be just okay. All right? This is where we have the question of a child. So when a young child is praying in the first line in particular, because that young child may not have concentration, they may not know anything, they actually are a barrier at that point. They're serving as a barrier. Okay, so because of that, we highly encourage and want no young people in the first line. Now, because of the construction of our hall, these 5 people here on this side, right, connecting to the ladies, they also can't have a young child there because they are the connection. You understand? Now, if the child is mumayyiz, they could be 6, they could be 7. But they know the difference between right and wrong. They know, at least generally, when people go to ruku, they go into ruku. You don't have to judge them. But if you see them not looking around or whatnot, then you can consider them fine and they can continue. Does that make sense or no? Okay? The last thing, we don't have time, eh? If there's a break in someone's readjusting the lines. Now, the only other thing, what time do we have, Ryan? Oh, then we'll end, yeah? I wanted to talk about what happens when the Imam's salah breaks, you know? Then there is readjusting that needs to take place. But maybe one other time we'll do this. The last thing I want to say is, right? So, okay, please have a seat, everyone. Salah has ended. What we do sometimes is we turn to the right and to the left to shake our hands, each other's hands. To shake a believer's hand is mustahab. But the more mustahab thing to do here is tasbih. When you recite tasbih without moving, without doing anything else, we are told in traditions that if there are any problems in your salah, Allah would fix those problems because of that tasbih. Okay? So the tasbih is very powerful. So what I want to encourage is that we don't do it. Now, if someone does put out their hand, the akhlaq at that point is to shake their hand, yeah? Don't tell them, no, tasbih. You can't argue with a mu'min over a mustahab like that, okay? So if someone does put out their hand, there may be someone who's not here, for example, and it's their habit to stick out their hand. Don't be rude, right? I think being rude at that point ruins the whole salah in the first place, all right? So this is the last thing I wanted to say. Being a Thursday, let's lower our eyes and let's just remember Imam al-Hussein, yeah? When we think about our salah, we think about how lucky we are to have an air-conditioned room, to pray when there is safety and tranquility. But my heart thinks about the Salah of Hussein on the day of Ashura. Yeah? And how Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam prayed that Salatul Khawf, we are told. We are told that there had to be people who stood in front of him, who would take the brunt of the arrows that came towards him. We are told one companion by the name of Sa'id took 22 arrows on his chest. And when the Imam alayhi salam finished the Salah, he fell from the sheer number of arrows that hit him. And you know his comment was, he said, Ya Sayyidi, have I made you proud? Have I fulfilled my responsibility to you? The Imam said to him, indeed, Ya Sa'id, you have preceded me to Jannah. وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the volunteers, and I want to hope that you guys have understood, and we'll try to do more sessions like this in the future, inshallah. Surah Al-Mubarakatil Fatiha.